Hey, this is Kyle. Welcome to No Signal. So today I'm going to walk across the field to my grandparents' house. I'm going to do some yard work, some weed eating, and play a little bit of catch up. If this is your first time with us, last week my family and I went on a trip, and we got everything ready, went to the feed store, and made sure we could leave all the animals and everything in a good place. While I was gone, my grandpa had some health problems, went to the ER and had an emergency room trip. And yeah, my Tuesdays are turning it every day, which is okay. It's kind of the reason why I moved back out to the property where I grew up. But I'm going to do some weed eating. Some other stuff's probably going to come up because that's what always happens when I'm working with my grandparents. So thanks for joining us. Again, welcome to No Signal. Hi. I just saw your text. I can do that. How many bags do you want?
Well, I'm inclined to say 15.
I mentioned it at the start before I even knew. Okay. But something always is going to come up. So weed eating's on the table today. But I also get to run back to the feed store. That's all right. You got a lot going on. And get more feed.
My brain, not all of a sudden, all week, my brain. Yeah. I go and I can do everything, but then there's all these little side things that I forget to do. And so anyway, I'll have a list. I'll text it to you so you'll have it.
And then, is there anything to work on here today? Specifically, if not,
I don't think so.
Stuff.
I just gotta get my. I'm trying to think of what to do with this view.
Okay.
That's my focus, and I'm thinking, okay, there's a few options, like take one of the ewe lambs out of the front and put it in there. I don't know if that would calm her down.
Yeah.
Or take one of the ones that is limping out there.
Yeah, I got you.
And put her in there. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just.
So yeah, stuff always comes up. Did I mention we have a lot to do coming back after a trip? So weed eating, feed store. Also, we unexpectedly had some lambs. It's kind of a long story, but maybe I'll touch on it later. So we got back on Wednesday, late in that evening. But while we were gone, probably Saturday night, my mom got a text from my grandma. They were headed for the ER. As soon as I heard that, obviously, I was worried. And selfishly, too, I thought, oh man, my life's about to get a lot more busier. But he has a bladder infection and now has a catheter. So he was in Saturday and Sunday, came back Monday. Not entirely sure what is going on with him. He's having a lot more testing. He's not in the hospital any longer. And as an 85-year-old, it's one of those things that just adds a lot of dynamics and stress when you have somebody at that age going to the hospital. So if you listened last week, he and I had a conversation about life, and we talked a lot about all sorts of things. Well, one of the things he had talked about was him not necessarily feeling like his life had meaning at this point in time. All the things that he'd done and worked towards, his land surveying, the sheep operation, the farm, it was getting harder and harder for him to do. And just kind of wasn't sure why he had spent all this time on all these things. Now looking back, I realized that those conversations probably were the start of him not feeling super great. Sitting here weed eating, working at their house. It's always hindsight. It's 2020. That's the saying, right? And that conversation feels a lot different and heavier now. On a side note, the reason the weed eater stopping, the weeds are so overgrown because we got rain when we were gone that it keeps jamming up the weed eater. Sorry to take you out of the sentimental part of it. So talking about things overgrowing, this year seems like we've had so much more growth than in years past. It's been an interesting weather year, not a lot of frost, and so things have just exploded in growth. So we got back Wednesday. I came back to my grandparents Thursday, was working a little bit over there. Friday, same thing. Saturday, me, my wife, the boys were out weeding, mulching, restaking tomatoes. You know, we talked about getting ready for a trip with a small family farm, the things you don't think about getting ready for. Same thing with returning. Weeds don't take vacations. I mean, over the winter, I guess they do. But in the spring, they sure don't. So we got back. We gardened. I used the tractor to move the chickens to fresh ground. Another little side note, we had one chicken die when we were gone, which is just kind of how life goes. And since we're talking about unexpected animals, I mentioned that we had some lambs born. So lambing season for us every year is in November, December. We put the sheep together end of May. They start lambing November, December. It's just how it goes. This year, we had 2 lambs this week. And it was a case of we thought it was a ewe that was never going to lamb. So long story short, we had a ram die this year. And so this ewe that has never lambed before, that we were going to get rid of, send to auction actually quite soon. She gets put with the lonely ram. So one thing led to another, and here we are, sitting in May. with a ram lamb and a ewe lamb. So I'm re-stringing the weed eater. That's the noises you're going to be hearing right now. You know, you plan life, you put everything together, and things just change. So that you got moved out back with the ewes December 5th. My grandma takes notes on everything that she does for the sheep for as long as they've had this place. And so, of course, sitting there talking to her, she does the math. And the day that they were born, she would have been bred around December 3rd. You know, last episode we talked about our network of people who would be able to help if my grandma needed it. And it's those wonderful contingencies that help in times of chaos. And still, as we're sitting in Hawaii, we would get texts from my grandma apologizing for not being able to help. Sorry the chicken died. Sorry I'm not able to do this or do that. And it's interesting because I think on the outside looking in, it could be easy to look at this and go, how pointless. Why don't you just live a normal life in a suburb? 3-bedroom, 2-bath, quarter acre, no chaos. And yet, in all this chaos, I think there's a lot of beauty. If it wasn't for this podcast documenting this Tuesdays, that in itself seems so inconsequential sometimes, somebody in Connecticut wouldn't have heard the episode about my great-grandpa. And they wouldn't have reached out because they wanted to buy some fleeces. Apparently, there's people in Japan and Ireland who've downloaded episodes and listened to it. So if you're from one of those places, reach out to me. I'd love to know who you are. These Tuesdays for me likely are going to start turning into everydays for me. And that's a big part of why I moved back out to where I grew up. It's not about weed eating. It's not about moving chickens. It's not about making sure the weeds are out of the garden. It's about being connected to the things that we're eating and this earth that we're living on. The interesting thing to me is that if you look back historically, my existence would have been a lot more normal. Not in terms of like who I am as a person, but how I engage with the world. All the pork, I'd say 60% of the chicken, all of the lamb that I eat is grown by me or my grandparents. I know where it's coming from. And so if you're listening to this today, you might be thinking, wow, this is so relaxing, or wow, this is so slow. I'd really encourage you to look at your life. Think about it. Put your phone down and just live in the life that we should be living. To touch back on something that I mentioned at the top of the show, how selfishly I was a little stressed about my life getting busier. And what I mean by that is not just the logistical aspects of running a, weed eater, mowing, but my grandparents have this information in their brains. Maybe some of it's written down. Here's a great example. Every month, twice a month, my grandfather turns on the flood irrigation for the front of their property and for the back of their property. I don't know how to run that. I know where it should go. The water, because sometimes when I walk across the field, it is flooded up to my ankles. My grandma doesn't know how to do it either. And the thing I'm realizing, they have so much information about sheep and about running a ranch farm that isn't available to me because it's in their head. These systems are ones that my grandparents know. And when I moved back out to the property that I grew up on a few years ago, the weight of this didn't hit me. I've slowly been realizing this progressively since I've been here. There's a lot that they do that is very siloed. My grandma does some things, my grandpa does other things. It's not like I have a manual or a handbook that they go, here you go. Here's how you do this. Here's how we do this. And now these conversations that I'm having with my grandfather have shifted from, one day you'll tell me this, to, we need to sit down and I need to know. These are just the things that you can't really expect or plan for when you're younger. So I'm finishing up weed eating. I'm going to blow for a little bit, got all the stuff off the patios and the concretes and things. And after that, I'm going to head to the feed store. So we're at the feed store, getting the feed in the truck. Then I'll go home and unload it. So I came home from Hawaii to a full week of work. My grandpa's home. He's doing a little bit better, but he's not doing great. Two lambs were born that nobody planned for. The land and life don't wait. While we were gone, life just kept on going. The good, the bad, the confusing. And I think that's the point. Thanks for listening to No Signal. Life happens when you put the phone down.